What's up, guys? This is Matt from Warrior Republic, and you're watching the Warrior Within podcast, where we talk to upcoming fighters, professional grapplers, competitive grapplers, and one of the ones we have today is a treat. We have a competitive grappler who's basically a Pan Am champion and also an IBJJF champion, Nationals for America. We have with us Sean Yadimarco is the Warrior Within. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. It's nice to be on this podcast, get to talk some jujitsu with you guys. Any questions you have, just throw them at me.
Oh yeah, definitely, man. No problem. I basically, would just ask you about basically what you've been doing, man. Like since I interviewed you, you've been just kicking ass. Like you've just been competition after competition after competition.
Yeah, man. I've just had some good momentum going into the Pan Ams. All my matches, I had one submission. The rest of my matches, I dominated by points. I had no points scored on me. It's because I have great teammates, great students I get to train with. It makes my jiu-jitsu just that much sharper.
Yeah, I can see it, man. And you and Mike are just like killing it. Just basically showing your whole team that anything's possible.
Yeah, well, a lot of schools like in our area, it's just like potbelly instructors who learned shit 20 years ago, and they don't really have any desire to improve. But that's the difference between me and Mike's school, Immortal's Jiu-Jitsu. We're actually on the competition scene. We're actually learning new stuff every day from the Renzo Gracie Academy, and we're delivering our students the best techniques possible.
Right. Like, so if guys don't know, you have, of course, Danaher's whole group has gone to Puerto Rico. But if you want to go and get some, especially if you're on the border and you're in New Jersey and you can't get to the Blue Basement, right in Clifton, Immortal Jiu-Jitsu's is like a perfect place to go.
Yep. Mike was training under John Danaher for like over 3 years. He knows a lot of his systems. I got to spend some time training under John in their pro training class, so I can teach some of their systems also. And yeah, we're cornering the no gi market in our area. Every school in our area is just traditional gi jiu-jitsu, but people want to watch no gi. People like no gi better, it seems. So we're really cornering that market.
And you personally, you just train mostly no gi, but you've done gi competitions, I'm sure.
Yeah, I competed in the IBJJF gi World Championships 4 years in a row. It's at the purple belt level, blue belt level. I've competed at the highest levels. I competed on Kasai grappling, fight to win in the gi. I've won gi matches on both those, prestigious events. So I can also teach the gi.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And do you find a lot of schools are very heavy in the gi at first? Like that'd probably be one of my first questions of jiu-jitsu for you would be like, why do you, there's a super switch, but with the whole no gi, it's more exciting. People think like gi, especially if you get into jiu-jitsu, most people probably saw something cool with no gi. And, just a lot of schools, they have a lot of the traditional where they're doing gi for a good up until their purple belt. What do you do at your school? Is it just predominantly whatever you want to wear? Is it like you have gi and no gi classes, of course?
So we have no gi classes 5 days a week. On Tuesdays and Thursdays, it's both. So we both teach gi and no gi techniques. And if you want to bring your gi, you can bring your gi and learn the gi techniques. If you want to just stick to no gi, then you can just stick to no gi. There's nothing wrong with that.
Dope.
Yeah. And we're not we're not bitches about leg locks and stuff. If you want to come in, do all the leg locks you want. We love leg locks there. So
yeah, right. Especially when you're getting your guys are going in the Blue Basement. Of course, you go over there. Leg locks are fine over here. So yeah.
Yeah. You go into a lot of schools in our area, and a lot of the instructors don't like leg locks too much, right? But jiu-jitsu evolves. It's one of the highest percentage of submissions is heel hooks in the past 80cc. So you need to be training them.
Well, can you
just in the last UFC they had a heel hook submission?
I was just gonna say that. Yeah.
Chase Hooper just hit a heel hook. He's a 21-year-old brown belt. He's really good.
I'm sorry, cut out. What was that?
Chase Hooper just hit the heel hook last night in the UFC.
Right.
Yeah, as a 21-year-old brown belt. Heel hooks are getting big in MMA also. You see Gary Tonin hitting them all the time. Not his last fight, but he hit a couple in his previous fights.
Right. It's almost like early EBI, like when, people came in and they didn't really know leg locks. It's almost like where MMA is right now. You could just leg lock a lot of people because, you got to train everything. You got to train.
Yeah.
You know, there's so much you got to work with. Some of these guys don't want to have injury by playing with leg locks as well, especially if they're inexperienced.
Yeah, evolve or die. You can't do the same shit you've been doing your whole life. You got to evolve. Learn new things. You can't be scared of leg locks and stuff.
Right. Because eventually, you're just going to get, well, some 16-year-old may heel hook you. But but yeah, let me ask you one thing. I mean, it's awesome. Well, actually, let me just go in and this will actually flow perfectly. So you weren't always at the Blue Basement, right? You actually were at another gym and you...
Yeah, I was at more of like a traditional jiu-jitsu gym. That's where I was training a lot in the gi mostly. But I still won some no-gi tournaments there. But yeah, the Blue Basement is just where I wanted to be. Training with some of the best guys in the world. I know a lot of them just left to Puerto Rico, but we still have a good squad in the Blue Basement. A lot of guys to look out for.
Because, honestly, when I came in to your school, I was really confused. I didn't really know what happened. I'm just kind of listening and hearing stuff. I thought you were originally at Danaher's and they kicked you out for cross training. And then I find out that wasn't even the school. You got invited to Danaher's after. So can you just tell us about that?
No, yeah, I was just training pretty much wherever I wanted during the pandemic and shit. My instructor at the time didn't really like that, so we just decided to split. And yeah, now I'm at Renzo's, and it's amazing there.
What was it like there was the last class, am I correct? Where it was John Danaher and stuff like that. What has it been like?
Able to be in the last class that John taught at Renzo's. It was pretty emotional. A lot of the people were sad there. But yeah, it was John didn't cut class early or anything. He taught it like a regular class. It was pretty cool.
Were there any special things that he said or maybe philosophy wise that he said before he left?
He's always giving great advice to a lot of the guys that are on the squad and the junior squad guys. Yeah, nothing that I could repeat back.
I know a lot of his stuff is very deep and detailed anyway, right?
100%.
So what kind of techniques did you guys like? What do he just, it's the normal rolling, you guys just had normal, there was no special hey, I'm leaving and I'm going to do some special shit and show you guys. What was stuff you did?
No, we were pretty much doing the same thing. Changing up the techniques, obviously, every day. We were doing about an hour and a half on the feet, then an hour and a half on the ground. Mostly on the ground, we were working leg locks and different types of passing sometimes, and a lot of good breakdowns from when people are standing up. Yeah, it really fit well into my game.
And when you were training for how long, because now he's out, but you trained there for a good month, couple months, a week, or a couple weeks? Because
a couple months. It was definitely a great opportunity to train under him in that period of time and train with some of the best guys in the world.
What'd you think on your first day? When you went in there, what hit you that was damn, I'm in here with John Danaher, and what was the first day like?
The first day was pretty cool. Everyone's very welcoming. It's not like there's a lot of dicks. Everyone's pretty chill about it. That's what I really liked.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, also you're rolling around with freaking so many different people that are just who's who of grappling in there.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. Nicky Rod actually helped me a lot. I got to do some wrestling rounds with him, and his guard's actually really good. A lot of people don't know that. So yeah, he got to show me a lot of cool shit, and yeah, I really appreciated that.
That's dope, man. And then it wasn't recently, yesterday, right? Didn't he come to your Immortal's Jiu-Jitsu?
Cool, and he showed us his his patented cartwheel pass right to the back. Some of our guys were getting it down pretty quick too. It was awesome. Yeah, he also gave a speech on competitive mindset and what his mindset's like going into tournaments, and I think it's really going to help our guys out.
That's actually a question I had for you too. You are such a competitor, man. I think that's the one thing you have because I interviewed you before, and you're a wrestler. There's just something very competitive. All wrestlers kind of have that in them, even if they're not wrestling. So with that mindset, going back to mindset, what is your mindset when you go and do these matches?
Usually the day of a tournament, I try to listen to very chill music and try to stay as calm as possible. And then 10 minutes before each match, I'll usually blast fucking heavy metal.
Oh, really?
Gets me going, man. Yeah, that's the strategy.
Right on.
You got to know when to chill, and you got to know when to just fucking, you know, get aggressive.
The key is to stay calm throughout the day. But like right before, like right when you start to warm up, that's when you could fucking, you know, let your emotions kind of go.
Oh, that's interesting. A lot of people
Yeah.
think it's the other way around, especially when they're even doing like fighters for amateurs. They'll get themselves wound up, and then when the match happens, your adrenaline dumps.
Yeah, like if you try to like pump yourself up the whole day, as soon as you wake up, by the time you fight, you're gonna be fucking exhausted.
And that's one of the worst things you can do as an athlete because, like, you know, exhausting your body before you get out there. And a lot of people don't realize, like, your mind, if you exhaust it's a lot of stress you go through in competitions. You know, I know I've gone through some things too. And then you're bringing that in there with you. You get tired, you know, because of this mental stress.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You know, and people think they have to eat all these special things the day of a tournament. No, just eat what you usually eat, man. You know, don't change it up.
Well, you know, did you ever have anything like that? I guess what you have stomach problems, right? People eat something and then in the competition, you're just going to have that when you're rolling.
Oh yeah, I've definitely learned the hard way. But yeah, it just, you know, it takes time. You just gotta try to be yourself the day of the competition. Just try to stay calm, and then once you get to the event, once you start warming up, then things pick up.
And also the absolutes you do, you know, you're not just doing your own weight class, like, you know, you're killing it in the absolute. Sometimes you'll see bronze, like I never see lower than a bronze with you, man. I mean, you're just always killing it. So what's it like when you're going against guys that just weigh more than you?
Yeah, I always do the absolute. You know, a lot of people won't do the absolute. I always sign my name up for it. But yeah, you know, it's interesting seeing you know, fighting guys who are in the ultra heavies and super heavy weight classes. You know, I get to work more on my guard with them and try different positions, try to, you know, strategically win those matches. Um, and yeah, it's everyone should be competing in absolute. You know, that's how you prove your jujitsu. You know,
You think so, huh? Why is that?
well, you know, jujitsu is created to you know, to take down the heavier opponent, right? To submit them, to strangle them. It gives people who are smaller, you know, a chance in a fight. That's what jiu-jitsu does. And if you can win absolute divisions and beat guys who are ultra heavyweight, then that just shows that your jiu-jitsu works.
I absolutely 100% agree with that. And I was talking to somebody else that I just did a podcast before, and I thought it was really interesting. Also a wrestler, and he was saying, like, you know, wrestling favors athleticism, you know, and not every gym is going to have the biggest, strong guy like come in and do that. You know, even with striking, you have to be in pretty good shape if you're going to throw like leg kicks with your punches. Yeah, you can be a boxer with a gut. And I'm not saying jujitsu guys are out of shape, but what I am saying is you see in a class where like the old lady, the out of shape kid, like you can defend yourself with jujitsu broadly through like you have these disadvantages. And, you know, and once you get on the ground, the advantages, you know, everyone's the same size on the ground. So I completely agree with that.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, if my students who are watching my matches, you know, some of them are taller, you know, smaller people. You know, if they see me fighting in absolute divisions, you know, beating ultra heavyweights, you know, it's going to inspire them. You know, so I'm always signing up for absolute.
Dope, man. I love it. I always like, you know, thought it was a very advanced thing to do anyway, you know, because you're like, damn, I don't know if I can, like the cardio, like I almost want to ask you that because like you're doing the absolutes too. Like, isn't that more out of you for cardio?
If your technique is more efficient, then you won't go through so much cardio. You know, it's good to you know, be you know, have the best cardio in the world, but if your technique is inefficient, then you're going to tire out in the first minute. If your technique's efficient, then you could go all these matches without even having great cardio.
Oh, wow. So as far as cardio goes, you know, a lot of jujitsu guys just roll. They don't really do any extra stuff. Like, so you're saying you're just rolling all day. There is no like, you're not doing sprints. You're not doing anything extra.
I'm really into swimming. I swim a lot for cardio also.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I think it's great cardio for jiu-jitsu is swimming. It's easy on your joints. You know, sometimes when I'm running, I feel it in my knees and shit. But swimming's easy on your body.
Get that resistance.
Yeah,
Absolutely. And
It's
they,
like having someone on you and pushing,
right.
yeah.
stroking.
You how to breathe also. Like in jiu-jitsu, sometimes you got to know how to breathe. You know, when you're swimming, you got to be conscious of how you're breathing. You know, it's
Right.
a lot of good things that come out of swimming for jiu-jitsu.
Wow, I like that one. I never thought about that because you're right. Even like the breaststroke, you got to like put your face in the water, then come up for air. You
Oh
know.
yeah. No,
So, oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
no, yeah, like a lot of guys at like Atos and some of the West Coast guys, they're lucky they have a beach right there. A lot of them will just swim in the ocean for hours. Yeah, definitely great for jiu-jitsu.
Wow, wow. And it's also good for therapy. What, like you said, joints, just healing in general.
Yeah.
Hydrotherapy.
No, yeah, 100%.
So, like, aside from like your competitive mindset, like, do you see like you just what do you bring that in life too, man? Like, you know what I mean? Like that whole mindset you have with the matches. I bet you do that with your everyday stuff.
Um, you know, from day to day, like I said, I just try to stay calm. I try not to waste energy on stuff that's not important. Um, when I'm training, you can't I feel like it could be good, it could also be bad to have a competitive mindset. You know, if I'm just working stuff, then I don't want to have a competitive mindset. But if I'm looking for hard training, like if I have a tournament coming up, I will have a competitive mindset as I'm training.
Yeah, right. You don't want to just be competitive with everybody at work. Then it just makes you the asshole.
Yeah.
So what about strength and conditioning though too? Like I know Mike, he does a lot of like, he has a powerlifting background, right? But he also does machines and he does weights. Do you do any weights or anything?
Yeah, I've been lifting about 3 or 4 times a week. Yeah, my friend's a training to be like a physical therapist and knows a lot about the body. He's been helping me out a lot with lifting. Um, but yes, sometimes it's not. You can't always listen to the meatheads. Sometimes like listen to science when you're lifting. You know.
Yeah, you can't listen to bro science, It's not real science.
Yeah.
So like what do you do? Because of one of the things like, especially as somebody who's like, I'm not like the most skilled jiu-jitsu guy. I'm basically still a white belt, but like for me, like lifting and then rolling is like sometimes, especially in the beginning stages, like there's so much when you're just grappling, you're sore anyway. I mean, you've
Yeah.
grappled so much, you're not anymore. How do you juggle? What do you do? Like you're the same days you're rolling all the time. So like, what do you do like when you're lifts? Are you lifting the same days you're rolling? Are you doing light lifts? What's your schedule?
You just need to know your body. Like if you're feeling way too broken down, then you shouldn't lift. It's okay. You don't have to lift every day. You don't have to lift 5 times a week. 3 times a week you'll be fine. 4 times a week you'll be good. Just know your body.
And do you ever like do certain things where you're like, man, like I'm really weak in my grip strength, and you do like maybe grip work because that's good with jujitsu. Do you do anything like sports directed? It's like training that you're doing specifically for the sport. Like it's not just for aesthetics and lifting.
So like other training that would be good for jujitsu.
Yeah, like during your strength training, do you do rope pulls? Do you do any like grip training or?
My friend has for grip training, he has a thing called the kimono grip. My friend Dan, his Instagram's Jujitsu Giant.
Oh yeah, I know that kid.
Pick out a kimono grip for grip strength. Hook it up to any machine, and really get your grips down. And you can put on heavy weight on it, and the thing won't rip, and you could really work your grips.
Wow. So you can put on anything. How does it work? How does that actually work?
Like you clip it on to like the tricep machine, the rowing machines, and you can really get your grip strength down fast.
Damn. Yeah, like I kind of when I met him and he's like, "Yeah, I'm an entrepreneur." And then I looked at his page and he's like, "Dude, he's the kimono grip guy?"
Yeah, he's the kimono grip guy. So if you want a kimono, check out his page.
Oh, it's dope. Yeah, it's just Jiu-Jitsu Giant. So if you guys want to go there and check that out, like, boom. One of the things like I'd also want to ask you as like a teacher or a coach, because basically like for me and my brother just learned with videos. We were just into MMA, and then we just learned jujitsu through videos. I wrestled before. I actually had MMA videos and jujitsu arm bars and stuff. And when I was wrestling, I would do that on the wrestlers in the wrestling team. They used to call me the jujitsu kid. And as cool as that is, I never really got a formal class till like a couple years ago. So I always feel like when you're training jujitsu, I think it's important that you maybe, in my, because when I try and even teach somebody, and I'm not even, ooh, did he go out on us?
I'm here.
Oh, okay, cool. So when I'm trying to teach someone stuff, I always think it's better to start them on their back. Like, what do you do as like a teacher and someone doesn't know anything like day one? and maybe let's do it of importance. So you may never see this person again. You got to teach them one really important thing on jiu-jitsu. What position do you start?
So first day jujitsu, I think actually learning how to take a fight to the ground is probably the most important. Like learning how to clinch and just take someone to the floor. Because if you can't take someone to the floor, then your jiu-jitsu is absolutely useless. All right. So I think first things you should learn.
100%, man. That's the important thing about wrestling too. And I've seen a lot of jiu-jitsu guys, and they're great. They do their thing. But when it comes to actually taking someone down, do takedowns. I mean, you even see it in the UFC. A lot of straight Brazilian jiu-jitsu guys, they got to wait till someone takes them down, or or the way they take them down is so slow and, and gradual, and you don't see a lot of wrestlers. It's explosive, he's pushing through, he's cutting corners. There's a lot of feet involved,
Yeah. If you're not working wrestling, heel hooks and, no-gi jiu-jitsu, then you're behind the curve.
Right. So what about as far as so I guess you're just teaching them single legs or double legs, or what's the first takedown you show them?
A first takedown, I believe, should be from the clinch. So if like someone's coming into you, how to clinch with someone and how to do a rear sit out from there, or a plethora of other takedowns from there. I think that should be one of the first things you learn, how to disengage a striker and get it close on them and take them down.
Right, for self-defense, right? Because you never know when someone's going to just be right here and you grab them, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. We want to make sure our students could, kick some ass if anyone tried to mess with them.
Dope. I don't know if you're aware too of they have I think Renzo Gracie has some federation. I saw this on Joe Rogan like 3 years ago. That he has this whole thing where I don't know if you got to pay for it, but there's a whole there's competition side, and he claims there's a more self-defense thing, like if somebody has a knife or I don't know. And he goes around and basically goes to schools, or he has people, and they show that side of jiu-jitsu where like a lot of schools don't have that. I don't know if you've ever heard that.
No, yeah, that's that's good for the traditional aspect of jiu-jitsu, and for the people who aren't really competitors and they just want to learn, how to defend themselves, which there's nothing wrong with that,
And like we said before, like it's the best probably martial art if you're going to learn how to defend yourself, because you don't need to be an athlete. You don't need to have crazy, skills. You just need to understand the premise of, oh, let me get this person to the ground and work my technique.
No, yeah, absolutely. If you train boxing your whole life and like you get into a fight with a guy who's a foot taller than you, 100 pounds heavier than you, they hit you once, you might be going down. Jiu-jitsu, you could always get hit. Yeah. But if you can get in close, take the fight to the ground, you have a lot better chance of winning the fight than like a boxer would against someone that big.
Right. Have you ever had like any like confrontations where you actually have used your jiu-jitsu?
Not since like ninth grade. Wrestling. I did a little like MMA jiu-jitsu. But besides that, not really.
Cool. But like, what happened exactly?
It was just some kid in the locker room was just saying shit to me, and I took him to the floor and punched him in the face a couple times, actually.
Nice.
Funny story.
That's what it is, man. Like, the wrestling's a weird sport too, because as much as like it's very like it's a team thing, it's very about like singular independence. Like it's you're out there, and some dudes have a fucking ego because they think they're the man in it. And I'm not saying jiu-jitsu doesn't, but I see that less. Do you see that as a wrestler? Do you see there's like far less ego in jiu-jitsu opposed to wrestling?
Oh yeah, there's 100%. You will still see egos in jiu-jitsu, unfortunately. I feel like jiu-jitsu either like can amplify your ego or get rid of your ego. But yeah, in wrestling it's it's amplified times 10. Especially kids, you can't really blame them, they feel like they're on top of the world, winning big wrestling tournaments, and it builds their ego.
And I guess let's just talk about your origins a bit too. Like, why don't we just talk about wrestling? Like, you didn't do college wrestling, but you started what? Did you do middle school, or is it just high school?
Very young, like elementary school. I wrestled for years. I didn't wrestle in college. I got some letters to wrestle in college, but I just didn't. I just decided not to go through with it, and I was really focusing on jiu-jitsu. I kind of like jiu-jitsu better. And yeah, I'm happy where I'm at now.
What was that? Were you like in were you like sophomore year? What were you like? When was it where you're wrestling and you're like, man, I like jiu-jitsu better?
Probably like my junior, senior year is when I realized I liked jiu-jitsu better.
And did you go to like what school was it? And you're like, wow, I'm choking people. This is better. Like,
I think for MMA purposes, yeah, like wrestling does seem to be like the most dominant martial art in MMA. But jiu-jitsu, I just like I like the fact that I could beat someone a lot bigger than me with jiu-jitsu. You can with wrestling too, but it seems to be a lot more efficient with jiu-jitsu to beat someone bigger than you.
why do you think it's more of like MMA as more wrestling is dominance? I mean, do you think it's because it's positional, right? There's positional dominance, so it's easier for strikes.
Positional, yeah, and I also think mindset. Wrestlers' mindsets are a lot different than any other martial art I've noticed. They have that like grit and grind, just bite down your mouthpiece and go. They know how to cut weight, because wrestling, you really have to fucking cut weight hard. A lot of jiu-jitsu guys, I feel like, don't really know how to cut weight the proper way. And yeah, I think it's just the wrestler mentality is big.
It's actually something that a lot of people do. I'm way too like new at doing that shit. But have you cut weight when someone's doing their early competitions? Like they shouldn't cut weight, right?
No. I would say probably your first 10 competitions, you really shouldn't cut weight. You should, just try to go in there at your natural weight, healthy, and just try to put on the best performance possible. Once you, learn more about cutting weight, then you could figure out how to be at your best possible while you're cutting like 20 pounds.
So like cutting weight 101, like, say you are like 150 pounds, like where do you go from there? Like how much weight do you cut? Is it different for everybody?
I guess it depends on your body fat. I would definitely suggest checking out your body fat percentage and seeing what would be a really low healthy weight for you if you're looking to compete.
Now, what does that mean? A lower body fat, you can cut more or less?
Yeah, if your body fat's at a certain percentage, you could figure out what to cut while, it won't make you die.
Yeah, because what I hear too, right? So the more fat, you can probably hold water more.
No, yeah. You would be surprised how much water weight you could get out of your body in a very quick amount of time.
So being really lean, that's what I hear from some athletes. Like it's harder to like basically cut weight because there's nothing, you have nothing holding it.
Yeah, it's definitely difficult as a lean athlete, but you could definitely figure out ways, to get the water weight out. Sauna is definitely an amazing option.
You've never do that though, do you?
What?
Sauna? You ever do that though?
Oh yeah, I love the sauna.
Oh wow, so you like really? That's really dedication.
The sauna is very peaceful for me. It's very you're in like 100 and something degree room, and you're just really thinking. You're kind of gets you lost in your thoughts.
Like a meditation.
Yeah, it kind of meditation sort of thing, the sauna for me.
So are you like thinking about the competition at that point, or are you just like?
Yeah, you're just thinking about the competition or thinking about other things in life, and just like there's sweat just coming off of you, and very easy way to lose weight.
What are the other things you do? Like, I'm sure that's not the first thing you do to cut weight.
Also Epsom salt. You take Epsom salt baths. That's a great way to get the water out of your body. Yeah, so those are some of the two main things I do, besides actually, training to lose weight. Like, yeah.
Well, as far as recovery, what do you do?
Recovery, definitely try to get lots of sleep. That's very important. Obviously, try to stay hydrated. Very important. Besides that, just stretching. Stretching after training sessions, before training sessions, will be good for injury prevention, and just getting yourself in better condition so that you won't get injured.
That's the thing. Nobody wants to stretch after class.
Stretching after class is very important.
I mean, why is that? Because your body's warmed up. Like a lot of people who, like I preach this a lot because, I wasn't doing it for years. When your body's warmed up, you're able to stretch your body more. When you're doing it, you're doing a cold stretch, and a cold stretch is bad for your joints.
Yeah, especially like, the guy who's coming from work, just worked an 8-hour day, sitting in the office. They try to go in there and just try to start rolling. They're going to tear their ACL or something, definitely need to stretch.
And you got to know like a little bit, like for me, like my knees crack a lot and my knee, whatever. So I got to warm up my knees, right? So like you got to know that about what your body needs to do more than other people. Like, because Jeff's there and he's fucking warming up like an asshole, like you don't need to do the same shit. No, you got to know your body and like know certain things that work for you.
Yeah. Now, if you see the 16-year-old kid doing backflips, maybe don't try to do backflips to warm up his body.
Yeah, exactly. Well, how much do you see like with the amount of people that come into your gym? Like you have like a lot of level of like different type of competitors that come in there that are starting out. You see like young talent coming in there?
Yeah, we have some young guys. My friend Scott's only 18. He's training at Henzo's and our gym, so he's training like 3 times a day. He's gonna be a monster.
With
But
Scott
yeah,
Jujitsu?
yeah, Scott Jitsu, man.
And you check him out. It's gonna be a future legend.
Damn right.
So how many times does like a kid like that? He's dedicated. Comes in like how many times a week?
Oh, Scott's. I go to Henzo's with him every morning, 8 a.m. and noon, 5 days a week. Saturday at noon, and then at night, 5 days a week. He's coming with me to all these sessions.
Nice, nice.
So I'm turning him into a killer.
Slowly but surely.
Yeah.
And so like what other like you have other students that are up and coming, right? That you're seeing.
Yeah. We have some pretty good students. We have this kid TB, who he took third in Romania for freestyle wrestling.
Whoa.
Yeah, we have purple belts come in, random purple belts come into our gym, and TB's usually one of the people that goes with them, and he usually smashes a lot of them. And we're teaching him jujitsu. He's starting to like to play the guard now and go for heel hooks, so he's gonna be dangerous. Yeah. We have this other kid Wagner who's pretty good. He also wrestled a very long time. He's starting to pick it up pretty fast. He's gonna be competing soon, actually. Definitely someone to look out for.
So what do you think, man, when people come from a grappling background that go into jujitsu like wrestling, do you think that they progress faster? Or do you go, whoa, I got to make sure they know jujitsu because they're using their skills they came in with too much?
Yeah, you could definitely amplify their skills also. Like if a wrestler comes in, you don't want to tell them to like not wrestle at the same time, you kind of want to amplify their skills so that you could teach them, jujitsu submissions and passes and stuff that they could use their wrestling to help, you know?
Absolutely. So as far as like what happens, like they are, the head's out to the side when they do a takedown, sometimes the head's in the middle. Like the first thing, like you teach them, like, what do you like, hey man, you can't come in and do a takedown like that because you're gonna get choked. Isn't that true?
No, yeah, definitely. You definitely don't want to leave your head out, especially when you're shooting double legs and stuff. You could definitely get guillotined. That's some stuff we have to go over with them. And, posture is a big thing too when they're passing guard. A lot of wrestlers will come in and try to pass guard, and they'll open themselves up for triangles a lot. You'll see, wrestlers who come in and get triangled a lot by jujitsu guys. So, the correct way to pass without getting triangled is something you definitely have to show wrestlers also, because otherwise they'll just keep getting caught in triangles.
Yeah, yeah. And you're saying like, you being a wrestler, you can almost when you go against a guy kind of know those things, huh?
Yeah, sometimes, especially like in the absolute division, I'll fight, usually wrestler type jiu-jitsu people, and definitely gives me a perspective on how to beat them and how to neutralize their wrestling in a jiu-jitsu match.
Dope. And what do you think was one of your hardest matches? I guess we'll start with the Pan Ams. Like, did you have anybody that really you were like, oh wow, this guy's good, or like maybe what was anything that you had trouble with?
Most of the matches in my division, I won pretty soundly. For the Pan Ams and the American National. My finals match at the Pans was pretty tough against a good opponent. His name's Max Hansen. I was able to win 3-0 by a guard pass. Most of the match was me trying to pass, him trying to sweep me and enter into Ashi from bottom position. But I was able to pass once and win the match. And then my second match at the American Nationals, I actually fought someone I was training with for a little bit. My friend Tyler Rivera. He trains at Tom DeBlas's gym. He had a very good couple Kimura attempts. He had some good guillotine attempts, but I was able to shake them off, and I was able to take him down a couple times and almost could take the back a couple times and win that match.
Nice, nice. Yeah, and when you're just going to do these competitions, I'm just thinking like, it's so much pressure going in and you're getting some of these like world-class gyms that you're going against. When you're doing that and you're come represent your own gym, is there extra pressure in the competition?
Oh yeah, if you're coming in there and you're representing your gym in the Renzo Gracie Academy, there's definitely a lot of pressure. Because everyone, most people who train at Renzo's are winning these big tournaments, so you gotta win also. Definitely some extra pressure that comes along with it.
Yeah, you got to step that up. And what's really interesting is I saw when you're competing, Not that this like totally means anything because it always changes, but it's so cool. And I saw like, now I guess you're the #1 purple belt or whatever. And
Well,
you,
definitely my weight class, yeah, I'm #1, and then pound for pound, #6 right now in the IBJJF rankings.
so that's what it was. It was like you were #7, and then you woke up and it was a
Yeah,
different
I
one.
fought unfortunately after the American Nationals. I guess the people above me competed also, but that's the pound for pound. That's not even my own division. I'm #1, but pound for pound, I'm #6.
That's pretty badass, man.
Yeah, thank you.
And so what's like future competitions like you feel like you're going to go into? Like, before I even asked you that, the rules, they're changing for IBJJF, right? Like what
Oh, yeah,
would
they're adding heel hooks and reaps, which is huge. Definitely gonna evolve jiu-jitsu a bit because a lot of these old school IBJJF guys don't train that stuff, and now they're gonna be forced, or else their guys are just gonna get heel hooked every tournament. So this is huge for jiu-jitsu. The IBJJF rule set is something I do like it a lot. I do like the point system. The advantages and disadvantages. That's kind of iffy, but heel hooks is definitely going to evolve the sport a lot in the IBJJF. It's about time.
Right, exactly. I mean, I'll be honest, there's some people that actually thought that it was already happening because they see EBI and they see, ADCC's got, heel hooks and stuff or whatever. And so I guess it was only a matter of time before they're like, yeah, we got to evolve as well.
No, yeah, absolutely. And you got to be good at all rule sets. You can't just be good at EBI. And then if you go into an IBJJF tournament and you get your ass whooped, dude, you can't complain. Oh, well, they didn't allow me to do heel hooks. Well, your jiu-jitsu's got to be more well-rounded. But now pretty much every competition has heel hooks, especially in the black belt division. If you don't have heel hooks allowed in a no-gi black belt division, that's kind of sad at that point.
Yeah, I remember I was filming Men of War, and it's right around here, and basically people were purple belts and blue belts, and they were like, "All right, heel hooks, but no reaping," and like it was a huge disparity of like they didn't want that shit happening.
No, yeah, you have to be training it. It's basically completely taken over jiu-jitsu, and it's going to be taking over MMA probably within the next couple of years.
You're starting to see it. I'm starting to see it now too.
Yeah, yeah, it's coming along. It's just once more of these jiu-jitsu guys hop into MMA, then there's gonna be some problems for a lot of these guys that don't know leg locks.
But dude, what the hell is that? What does that mean for jujitsu? Like, then everybody's going to be like, what's the future now? If everybody's good at leg locks, so then we just back to when leg locks were before, when nobody used them and everybody had to get good at everything else. Like, what does that mean if everybody's starting to get good at that shit?
Well, it's gonna force the people who only do heel hooks to actually train other stuff, other types of submissions, because everyone's gonna be pretty well rounded at them now. And they're not just going to be able to go into every tournament and just submit people one by one by one by one with heel hooks. So it's going to force them to, work on different parts of their jiu-jitsu. It's going to make everyone a lot more crafty, I think, in the near future.
What do you think of dudes that like they come in, maybe the rest of their jiu-jitsu isn't so hot, but like maybe they're a blue belt, but they're hitting everybody with heel hooks. If some guy came into your gym like that, would you maybe some gyms he would get promoted higher? What do you have if he was your student?
Coming in and just learning heel hooks, if you just know heel hooks and you can't really hit any other submission on, another blue belt, then, maybe you should take a step back from doing all these heel hooks all the time and try to work some other stuff sometimes. If you're going against someone that you can submit with the heel hook, maybe try to work on some other transitions, some other types of submissions,
Yeah, exactly. What about when you go in a competition? You're not trying to learn new shit, right? Like, what's your recommendation if somebody's like trying to learn so much shit and maybe in a competition you really don't need a lot? Can you tell people?
So if someone's trying to learn too much at once, like a week, 2 weeks before the competition, don't start doing new shit, because by the time the competition rolls around, you're not going to be hitting that shit that you just learned 2 weeks ago. Just keep refining the stuff that you're already good at if you're coming close to a competition. Post competition, then you could start being a lot more creative and trying out different things. But when you're coming up close to a competition, just refine the stuff you're already good at.
Right. Like, and I was like a Bruce Lee saying, like it's this, like, was it someone who knows like one kick, but they do it 10,000 times, or you're good at a few techniques instead of knowing 1,000. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, I'd rather be amazing at, a couple things than, be okay-ish at everything. Then you could eventually get better at those other things that you were bad at. but like John has said in some of his quotes that you want to be good at everything, but the best in the world at one thing. That's how you could really be good at jiu-jitsu.
Oh wow, that's interesting.
Yeah, be good at everything, but the best in the world at one specific thing.
Wow. Wow, that actually is pretty. It's pretty like super. He's such a good mind with that because you're like one thing you'll marinate on that and be like, damn, that opened my perspective right there.
But you still need to be good at everything, but really be amazing at one thing.
And like, if you had to really take that literal, like what would the one thing be like for I don't know, like can you someone go like I like omoplatas? Like are they just gonna be like, is that a thing? Or like they have to look at it more like, hey, no, maybe you're better at back. Is it positional?
Yeah, I mean, if you're the best in the world at guard passing, then it doesn't always have to be submissions. Really refine your guard passing and really get good at it, so you're passing everyone's guard. But also work on other things, be good at everything else, so that you don't slip up in a competition.
Yeah, one of the worst things for me right now, as like someone who's trying to be better at jujitsu, is like passing the guard. When you have a really good person who's got a really good guard, like sometimes I'll have a really hard problem because if you can't pass the guard, like it's a huge thing in jujitsu. I'd almost say it's one of the most important things because if the guard is really dangerous if you stay there too long anyway, especially if someone has a crazy dangerous guard. If you can't pass, like you can't execute your game. How true is that?
Oh no, you absolutely need to know how to pass the guard in jiu-jitsu. You should learn how to pass the guard in jiu-jitsu before you learn, leg locks and all these other crazy types of you know, uh new age jiu-jitsu stuff. You need to know how to pass. That's why it is good to train in the gi. I would say, a lot of gi people are very good guard passers. I'm not saying that you need to train in the gi to get good at guard passing, but it does seem like a lot of these gi athletes are good at passing the guard.
Wow, why do you think that is? Like, why are they so much better at it?
I think because gi jiu-jitsu is a lot more positional, and passing the guard in a match is huge. Because 2 points it goes a long way in gi jiu-jitsu. Because it's hard to score against high level guys in the gi, but no gi. No gi. If you give up 2 points, it's all right. Usually no gi matches are a lot faster paced and usually a lot higher scores with a lot more submission attempts. But the gi forces you to be a little more positional, I would say.
And it's a different type of jujitsu in itself. The way you're using, just the whole, you're wearing a whole gi and you're using it to like stop people's arms. You're using it to loop. You're almost creative in a completely different way. It's like your body plus something else.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely. But like I said, you don't need the gi to be good at positional jiu-jitsu or be good at being able to pass the guard. If your technique's efficient, then you're still gonna be able to pass the guard. But it does seem like these gi athletes are very good at passing the guard.
Well, what do you think about guys that only do like one? This is what I hear. I hear like, when you do both, even when MMA fighters, it makes when you're doing gi instead of just doing no gi all the time, your whole jujitsu improves. Is that true?
I don't think you need to train in the gi. I don't think it's absolutely 100% necessary to be good at MMA to train in the gi, or to be good at no gis to train in the gi. But for some guys, it does complement their no gi jiu-jitsu while training in the gi because it makes them more competent guard passers in a way. But yeah, I would say it's not 100% necessary, but it does help people.
Yeah, I mean, for you, like as well as you're probably doing all no gi. You're not really gonna go back into gi competitions, probably.
I'm doing pretty much all no gi. I'll throw a gi on every now and then and train with some of my students who want to train the gi. But predominantly my serious training's no gi.
Right, right. So, what do you see as far as other competitions that you're gonna go into? I guess from here with no gi.
I have a competition January 3rd for $1,000 in New Hampshire. It's EBI rules, 8-man bracket. I'm excited for that. I'm getting ready for that. Working a lot on my EBI overtime. Yeah, so probably do some more small shows that have cash prizes. A lot of these no-gi tournaments, EBI rules tournaments. I'll probably do that until IBJJF tournaments roll around again.
Dope, man. What do you think of cage jiu-jitsu? We might actually do a tournament. I mean, maybe it'll be like maybe it'll be $500 or something for a prize and have people come down.
I think that would be really interesting, cage jiu-jitsu match. It depends what the rules would be and stuff like that. You definitely got to figure out the best rule set for a cage jiu-jitsu match. But yeah, it'll force people to learn how to work off the wall, which is great for MMA and in a real life situation if you're pinned against the wall or something. But cage jiu-jitsu, that would be pretty dope.
Because one thing I see in MMA is like some guy will always bring him to the fence. Like if you're on your back, you need to get positions to move. When someone's just pushing you against the wall and your neck's against the wall, like it's hard for you to do arm bars and maneuver. So
Oh
like
yeah,
so that's the one thing I thought with cage jiu-jitsu is like you got to work that mindset with your jiu-jitsu when you're in there. So
yeah. The cage is a huge factor. That's why for like a while, like a lot of Japanese MMA guys, they would struggle in the UFC because the UFC is cage, and a lot of Japanese MMA was a lot in like a ring. A ring, once you start going like out towards the ropes, you just reset in the middle. But in the UFC, you have the octagon, you have the cage, and you can get pinned against the wall, and it's a huge factor. And it's another reason why wrestlers are so dominant in MMA is because of the cage. Wrestlers could really use the cage against it to their advantage. So it's definitely an element of grappling that you need to know is how to fight off the wall.
yeah, man, absolutely. And in a cage, it has like a bounce to it. You can like hit somebody up, use it to propel to slam. That's probably something we haven't got on the rules. I didn't think of all of them, but I want to allow slams. I think that's cool.
Yeah, slams are good. If people are in like triangles and stuff, they got to know how to hook the leg so that they don't get slammed if they have a triangle.
Right.
A competent grappler probably won't get hurt with slams involved. So I think it's a great addition to the rules.
The only thing I probably wouldn't do is like I'll say slams, but like when you're trying to slam somebody on their head, number one, you're probably really good, but you're also doing it intentionally. So like I would do slams, but only let it from your traps down. You know what I'm saying? You don't really want your neck.
Can't have people spiking each other on their heads.
Yeah, and that's not good for the sport either. And then someone's got a coloring book they need for life for Christmas. I don't want to be that guy.
Absolutely, you don't want to ruin life.
And that's the whole thing that you don't want to ruin it with the sport with a rule set like that. So yeah, I thought cage jiu-jitsu would be cool. So aside from that, any other like competitions aside from that one?
Besides like this EBI rules tournament in January, there's another one in Texas I was probably gonna do. That was for 2K cash prize. It's another EBI rules, but it's only purple belts. I'll probably do that one, and I'm just maybe a fight to win rolls around, or third coast grappling. I could get on some of those cards. That'd be pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's cool. You did. I didn't know you did a fight to wins.
I did Kasai 3 times. I did Kasai, and I did fight to win 3 times actually.
I don't know. They're both really cool. What was a cooler experience for you?
Kasai was really cool, especially we were in the Hammerstein Ballroom in the Manhattan Center in the city. That was an awesome experience. I got to fight some good guys at Kasai. That really helped get my name out there a little bit at Purple Belt.
Dope. And so I guess if everything opened back up with that, that would definitely be something you'd be into doing Kasai again.
Yeah, I would definitely do Kasai again. I was on the first Kasai show when it was in like a warehouse in Brooklyn. That was a pretty awesome experience. And yeah, I would definitely hop on another one of their cards.
That's dope, man. As far as EBI goes, would you ever like actually, you're doing the rule set. Do you even like the rule set before I ask if you would even do EBI?
Do I like the EBI rule set?
Yeah.
I think it does force grapplers to be better, at submissions and not just trying to positionally be good at grappling. So I think it does force grapplers out of their element a little bit to be better at this new age type of jiu-jitsu. But the only problem with submission only is you will see a lot of guys who give up positions to try to go for submissions, and in MMA that wouldn't work. You're going to get your face punched in. So there is some value to EBI rules, but there's also a downside to EBI rules, I think.
Yeah, sure. So, but without submission only for you, like as far as like you've been doing so many points competitions, like you said, I think I even heard Mike said on his podcast, like you make sure you understand the rule set before you actually go in. That's an advantage.
Yeah, if you go into an IBJJF tournament and you heel hook someone, and then you're complaining about it that you got DQ'd, then you're just an idiot. You got to know the rules to your tournaments that you're doing. Actually take time and look at the rules. Don't get screwed by the rules in your tournament, complain about it, and then you realize, oh, I didn't know the rules.
Yeah, then you're just kind of being an asshole about it,
Yeah, it's your own fault, and you make yourself look like an idiot.
Because at the end of the day, it's their tournament, it's their thing. But yeah, I always thought that was interesting. Is like it's almost like for comedians, like knowing your audience. You got to know the rules.
Yeah, absolutely. If you go into a tournament and you do an illegal technique and you get fucking DQ'd, or if you lose by an advantage, and you didn't know that that counted for an advantage, that's your own fault. You should have known the rules, you know?
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, submission only is something that you would definitely be into, right?
Yeah, submission only, you know, that'll definitely make my grappling improve, you know, going for you know, all submissions. You know, as long as you don't you know, be a bad representation for jiu-jitsu and give up, you know, really dumb positions to go for some submissions, cuz you know, you'd get your fucking face punched in a real fight.
Right. I always thought it was cool you do some creative stuff too. Like the other day, I saw you like you were arm triangling somebody and then someone's arms out and then you just kind of did like a one arm Kimura thing.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to leave your arms hanging in weird positions like that. There are a lot of creative submissions I like to do. I like to do this one inside arm bar. I like to do a lot of creative Darce chokes. It really throws off my opponents sometimes because they're not really conventional submissions all the time. Um, but yeah, yeah. So I do some unconventional submissions that work for me.
What influence is that from?
I guess my body type too. You know, I have really long arms for my body type, and I definitely use that to my advantage with some, you know, unconventional Darce chokes and stuff like that.
So it's just something you like found in training. It wasn't like you were like, hey, I watched some videotape.
No, yeah, it was just you know, training every day and trying out new stuff, and you know, you figure out what works for your body type. You know, knowing what works for your body type is a huge part of jujitsu. Also, you know, you can't do if you're 5'4", you know, 200 pounds, you can't do the same shit that Keenan Cornelius is doing. You know.
Yeah, like me, I'm a tiny guy. Like I like triangles, but I'm not going to triangle like Brock Lesnar. Like that's not happening.
No, yeah, you could just got to figure out, you know, what techniques will work for your body type. You know, you can't if you're taking advice from the long, you know, tall, lanky guy all the time, um, that might not be good for your jiu-jitsu because you have a completely different body type.
Yeah, that's like super important. It's so weird that jujitsu is like. I mean, you have that with striking too. Somebody's longer, they can use their length, but it's just really more important even with anatomy with jujitsu. Like it'll come back tenfold on you.
No, yeah, absolutely. Or you know, look at your opponent's body types. You know, a lot of times a you know, person's body type will show you what kind of jiu-jitsu they're going to have. You know, if a really tall, lanky guy is probably going to pull guard. You
Oh,
know, a stocky guy, you know, might be more of a wrestler, guard passer type of person, just because that seems to fit their body type better.
oh wow, that's pretty cool, man. I never even thought about that with that. Ah, wow. One sec. The other thing is really interesting is your school does like competition, even like you'll have a referee and you'll do that stuff to make it
Uh, our
simulate.
Yeah, our friend Leo's a professional ref. And so yeah, for our guys that are competing, we simulate matches. You know, if you can't compete in front of your friends, how are you supposed to compete in front of a bunch of random people? You know, we actually get our students ready for that type of situation. You know, just a couple rolls, and then you go home and you bullshit. You know, you're competing. You know, you're competing in front of your friends, and you're getting the jitters out of the way.
Do you think like some schools would say that goes overboard, you know, and they'd be like, oh, well, that's crazy.
Well, you know, our students are a bunch of savages, and our school's growing. We're doing a lot of unconventional stuff for our school. We're training hard. We're making a bunch of killers, and our school just keeps growing at a faster rate than a lot of the other schools in our area. It seems to be. So, I guess we're doing something right there.
Yeah, it's pretty dope, man. You even had like a cripple. So Mikey's like people that are like, oh, my arm hurts, or like, ah, you could do leg locks, go in a corner, like,
Oh yeah, absolutely. You know, you know, if you're feeling tired, or you know, if you have some injuries, you could always work around it. You know, not in a dumb way, as long as you're training smart through an injury. But yeah, you could always do something. You know, if if your shoulder's hurting, maybe just work leg locks with someone in the corner, just drill it. You know, so you're improving every day.
so how that happened, man? The cripple's corner. Some kid came in, he's like, I can't do jujitsu because of this.
Yeah, you know, we'll have people who say they got, you know, they hurt their shoulder lifting really heavy in the gym. So we're like, okay, no problem. You know, you're here. You know, we're gonna provide you with jujitsu. So you're gonna go drill leg locks in the corner. You know, we just a lot of people have, like, you know, a lot of little injuries, but we just work around them.
That's so smart because most gyms would be like, sit out in the side. It's cool.
No, yeah, we're focused on, getting our guys better, and we treat them like individuals, not like we're not worried, oh, if this person gets hurt, then they can't pay a membership anymore. But, to us it's like, your body, you know, um let's try to work on something else to try to keep you improving.
What are like some leg locks that you would say for someone who's early, like learning it? Like I was talking to someone before you who's a black belt, and they're saying that sometimes you're afraid to teach leg locks maybe to white belts in the beginning, maybe because you're afraid somebody's gonna get hurt. What level or like what time do you feel is a good time to teach somebody that?
Um you see, it's with jujitsu, you'll see a lot of schools, not want to teach leg locks because they think they're going to be very there's going to be a lot of injuries at the beginning for white belts and stuff. But you can still teach them. You could if you don't want them training with leg locks, then that's different. Maybe yeah, they should get better at guard passing first. But they could still drill them. You could still show them leg locks. Just don't have them cranking legs with each other. If it's a day one white belt against a day one white belt, tell them, do this, this, and this. Don't go for leg locks and stuff. But if it's a day one white belt, he's wrong with the purple belt. Yeah, let him try some leg locks.
As far as you come in and teaching a technique, do you teach like day one white belts, or do you wait to teach like leg lock techniques?
Oh no, we'll teach white belts leg locks. We may not have them train leg locks with another white belt because then that's dangerous. But we'll definitely teach them, leg locks. There's nothing wrong with actually showing them just the technique.
See, that was smart what you just said. That was something that I didn't even think of. That's brilliant. Yeah, because if you have someone who doesn't know how to do it against someone who also doesn't, that's going to make injury go up.
Yeah.
And then you're training with a guy who's at least a purple belt and he knows how to do some shit. That makes sense because he'll say, dude, you're going too hard," or like you get a feel for like when to tap.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Definitely have your newer guys work with upper belts. That will definitely improve their progress. You should to make your jiu-jitsu better, you should always be training with people you're better than, people the same level as you, and people better than you. People better than you, that will help your defense. The same level as you, that's going to be your really tough rounds. The people you're better than, that'll work your offense.
Oh, beautiful. I love that. So what about like flow rolls and stuff like that? Where does that come into play? Those are just warm-ups, right? Like I always see those, but I feel like I'm always like, it's probably the wrestling thing. I'm way too much of like trying to crash into somebody. I don't see how that works. So is that for warm-up or is there actual technique going on in flow rolls?
If you're training with someone that you're a lot more skilled than, then maybe you should be in more of a flow mindset and just look for different types of new submissions and try new stuff. But you definitely shouldn't be flow rolling if you're training with like, a guy on the equal level than you. Or even if you're training with someone a lot better than you, you should, try to attack some submissions. Don't be don't be so tight and, actually try to go at them. My students, my white belts, I tell them, actually try to submit me. Don't try to be so cautious.
Right. And then like, it doesn't matter if they're going to get it or not, but if they do, like even if somebody did tap you in school, there's no ego. Like you're almost like kind of happy with that, there's no ego really when you're showing someone stuff.
If you're not tapping, like if you're training every training session and you're not getting tapped at least, a couple times, then you're doing something wrong. That means you're not trying new stuff. You're just doing the same shit every day. And yeah, you're not getting tapped, but are you getting better? No, you're supposed to be getting tapped.
Right. Like who's going to go in a jiu-jitsu gym and just you're fucking awesome all the time? Like people who are the best in the world, they have to get their ass handed to them.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You can't go into class every day doing the same exact technique. You need to try other things, and that's going to cause you to, get submitted sometimes, but that's okay because then you're getting better.
And you, as far as like teaching, it's definitely changed your life a lot. So what are some of the most biggest mistakes that you see? I guess coming to jujitsu as a teacher.
Biggest mistakes that a teacher could do.
No, I just mean students wise, but we can answer the teacher thing after that.
So you're asking like,
do you see something general that like you see a lot of people do?
Oh, like a lot of people will tell their students like especially those who come in as wrestlers to just play guard all the time and kind of just beat the wrestler out of them. That sucks with new students, or the everyday student who doesn't have a grappling background. They'll kind of they'll teach them a lot of the same techniques over and over again. Their minds need to be exposed to new and a bunch of different techniques so that they can figure out what works for them early.
What is part about drilling too? Like, a lot of people say drilling's boring. I love drilling. I like drilling a lot, and then I like to roll after. That's how I like to do it. What do you think of drilling? Some people think it's too much. Some schools just roll. Some schools just drill. So what's Immortal's Jiu-Jitsu philosophy?
Immortal's Jiu-Jitsu, we drill about 3 to 4 techniques a night. I think over 3 to 4, if you're drilling more than 3 to 4 techniques a night, sometimes you won't be good at all of them, so I think 3 to 4 is a good amount that you could retain information and get a lot of time working on those techniques. If you teach someone everything on the first day, then they learn nothing.
Yeah, I've had that a lot. I'll go to schools, and sometimes you're learning, like, especially when you're starting out, even if you know a little bit, you go to other levels like leg locks. You can't, if someone doesn't know a leg lock, you're not going to show 5 leg locks in a day. That's going to drive someone crazy.
No, yeah, absolutely. They got to be working on, a good couple techniques for one day, then a good couple techniques for the next day. Like I said, you show everyone, you showed 20 techniques in one day, then everyone in the room doesn't learn shit because they spent not too much time on those techniques.
Yeah. And what are some of like things you see with these, we're going to say teachers or like professors in jiu-jitsu? Like, you obviously do stuff differently than most gyms. What are mistakes that you see with coaches that teach?
Well, like a lot of the coaches in our area, they'll, force their students to train in the gi every day. Because, a lot of schools will have 1 no-gi class a week and then 6 days in the gi. A big cause for that might be is because these instructors don't know a lot of no-gi techniques. Or you'll see a lot of schools that make you wear, a certain uniform and you got to pay for that uniform. You can't wear your own gear. Like, we don't care. Like, wear whatever gear you want. We're not treating you like a number. You're an individual.
First of all, that's the biggest bullshit ever. When I heard that, and you're right, I've seen some schools do that. Dude, that pisses me off every time I see it.
No, yeah. You if someone tells you, oh, you have to wear this gear to train here, no, fuck you. Wear whatever the fuck you want. Jiu-jitsu is it's a very creative sport, and you should be able to wear whatever type of gear you want.
And it's also a community thing. Like, yeah, especially going to your gym, you guys had such good vibes and it was very communal. If you're just making it where everybody's got to take it, like, it's like communism, right? You got to take everybody looks the same to wear the shirt just so you can make money. You take the love and the community out of that.
No, yeah. Jiu-jitsu doesn't become fun at that point.
You're just like being like a cookie cutter kind of.
Yeah, you're in an assembly line or some shit.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what it is, though. You're seeing a lot of factory cookie cutter jiu-jitsu stuff, and I see it all the time.
That's the business model to make the most money, But at Immortal's Jiu-Jitsu, we're not gonna be like that. We're not gonna, be like the assembly line type of jiu-jitsu.
Right. And I love that because of it too. And you recently there was some friend you guys had, and he actually like defended his life. Like, he almost could have died, and he got in the hospital. Thank God he's all right. But jiu-jitsu saved this guy's life.
Oh yeah, absolutely. A lot of people say, oh, jiu-jitsu saved my life, but jiu-jitsu actually did save his life. And jiu-jitsu saves a lot of people's lives. There's a lot of meaning behind that phrase.
What exactly happened with him? Like, what was the situation?
He was attacked by someone. He actually got shot a couple times. And he was able to, withstand it and use jiu-jitsu to, save his life. I don't know the full story, to be honest with you, but that's what I heard. Yeah.
Was it in a bar? Was it outside?
I'm not sure. I think it was outside though.
Dude, that's crazy. It was knife, and he got shot.
Yeah, the guy fucking threw the kitchen sink at him.
Fucking crazy. Dude, that guy is fucking Superman. Holy shit. I thought it was just stabbing. I know it was gunshot too.
Yeah. Like, I thought there was like a gun involved. His name's Kevin Sheehan. Follow him on Instagram. Check out our post about him. The whole story's there. You can read it. Right.
And you got Ramblin' Iraq. He did a whole podcast with that guy. So check that out too.
Check that out if you want the full story. I don't have all my information together right now.
Yeah, no problem. I just thought that was so cool, man. I mean, it was just like, people always say some like kind of gay shit, like, "Oh, jiu-jitsu saved my life," but like, that's a real story.
But you know, that phrase is there for a reason. You know, jiu-jitsu actually has saved a lot of people's lives.
Right. Like we were saying before, like if anybody has like physical disadvantages or anything, like jujitsu is right there and you can, it takes you years to master other things. You have to get in shape. Jujitsu is always catered to like, hey, you don't need to know anything else. You just need to defend yourself. And it's probably the best thing for self-defense on one at any martial art.
Yeah, you know, once you bring someone to the floor, you know, if they're on their back, they can't generate a lot of energy to throw knockout punches at you. You know, I mean, we saw Kevin Holland knock out Jacare from his back this weekend, but you know, the average person's not going to be able to do that. You know, that's a UFC, you know, athlete. But yeah, you bring someone to the floor, you get on top of them, they can't generate a lot of power to knock you out from their back. And that's why jiu-jitsu is so effective.
Yeah, that was really crazy, that knockout. It almost looked like he put his foot in the hip and he like used it to like launch off of it or something.
Oh yeah. You know, he was able to generate a lot of energy with that punch, and he landed it right on the button, right on the chin. And that's what knocked Jacare out. We saw Anderson Silva a long time ago from the close guard actually like throw a hook kick from the close guard and knock someone out. Renzo Gracie, he threw an up kick at a Takhtarov back in the 90s. You know, you could definitely knock people out off your back, but you bring someone to their back and you know how to, you know, protect yourself from those up kicks and, you know, different types of punches like that, then you could definitely use jiu-jitsu to your advantage.
Dope. You have a lot of like, so what are those are few MMA guys you like? What are other MMA guys that you look at? Because it's not just all jiu-jitsu.
Oh yeah, like a lot of really good MMA guys that I always loved was you know, like the Diaz brothers, Nick and Nate Diaz, that boxing style jiu-jitsu. They've you know, they're definitely great representations for the art in MMA. They're kind of crazy, but they're crazy in a good way, I would say. You know, George St. Pierre is awesome. You know, a lot of other good fighters I liked. Frankie Edgar, obviously, you know, fucking from Jersey. I love all these Jersey fighters that are representing the sport, and representing New Jersey.
100%. And of course Renzo Gracie, like you said, he did MMA. He was great.
No, yeah, Renzo Gracie in Pride, and you know, a lot of the old school Pride fights are definitely something that jiu-jitsu people need to watch.
Oh yeah, definitely. As far as like you trained with Renzo of course you're in the blue basement, but like I saw you with a picture recently. When he,
Yeah,
how was it?
Renzo's been teaching at noon. So it's pretty cool to be learning from Renzo Gracie himself recently. And yeah, he has a lot of crafty submissions. You know, for such an old school guy, he's definitely hasn't you know, let himself slip. You know.
Like I guess he has leg locks, but like Danaher's the leg lock guy, so he's teaching different stuff, or do you see like the same kind of thing, or what?
You know, even what I've noticed with Renzo is you know, I know like John Danaher and a lot of the Danaher like guys are very submission oriented, but even Renzo's like that. For an old school guy, he's very submission oriented. And like you'll see a lot of old school grapplers who just don't have that submission oriented mindset, but Renzo does.
Yeah, because a lot of it's more positional, right? They don't think of just getting that.
Yeah, but it seems to be that Renzo's always kind of had like a submission mindset, and that's why, you know, might have carried on to John Danaher, and then, you know, he fucking took it tenfold.
Yeah, that's awesome. Because I've been to a lot of jiu-jitsu schools, and it's all based on a point system. It's you dominate to get to one position, to get to another position that leads to an ultimate awesome submission. But this age of like submission only, you're seeing a lot of that where like we're going beyond a point system. We're looking that it's dominated for submissions only now. Do you see like jiu-jitsu just like getting excited because of that?
Yeah, it seems to be like Gordon himself is getting people who don't even train jiu-jitsu to watch jiu-jitsu. So maybe, you know, if jiu-jitsu guys start being more exciting and going for more submissions, you'll see people get into jiu-jitsu. Maybe even people who don't train, and it might convince them to train, seeing this, you know, all this action.
Yeah, and my prediction personally is I think that you're probably going to be able to make a living. I think in the next 5 years we're going to see just it rise up to like MMA standards. I think more people, because of MMA and because of everything else, they're getting into the sport. And I think that eventually you're going to see guys like you and guys that I've been interviewing are like kind of pioneers at this point. And then a lot of people don't know about it. There's not a lot of money behind it. but you're just starting to see the excitement come. And I really think in about a handful of years, we're going to see like it's almost going to be like a normal thing, and people want to go pay for it and watch it like a UFC.
Oh yeah, Gordon, I'd say, paved the way. A lot of world champions were broke, but Gordon kind of paved the way on how to make money in jiu-jitsu. And a lot of us are trying to follow that path.
Yeah, man. And he's such a lot of people just like, even myself, like when I didn't meet him, I always just thought like, and I thought it was hilarious. I just thought he's a guy that just roasts people and like, he's like kind of this crude, mean guy. But you meet this guy and he's got such like he's actually a really nice guy. And he's just got like a hard worker's mentality. Like this guy just fucking is a work dog.
And, he talks a lot of shit on the internet. But it kind of motivates him too. He creates haters, and it motivates his training because he knows he has to prove his haters wrong. And if he constantly makes haters, and he's calling out his opponents, saying how he's going to submit them and stuff, it just motivates his own training more, so he could get to a higher level.
That's awesome. I always think that's like also sells the fights too, because people are reading that shit.
Yeah, if like Conor McGregor, he would talk a lot of shit, but I bet it motivated his training knowing how many haters he had.
100%. And then I see like there's a big thing of Gordon's such a big guy, but I can totally tell like he's a natural, to at least anyway. I've seen other guys where you come in the sport, and actually let's talk about that. What do you think that jiu-jitsu should have more testing? Because there's so many guys that come into grappling competitions and they're on peds, they're on steroids.
Yeah, the problem is that, all these drug tests is going to be very expensive. And, I feel like the IBJJF just isn't willing to dish out all that money to test every single one of these athletes. As jiu-jitsu grows, there definitely should be testing, because it's just like clearly obvious how many of these athletes aren't natural. But yeah, hopefully we start seeing more testing in the next 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, man, because it's kind of a crazy thing. Like, I don't care. Barry Bonds can shoot whatever the fuck he wants in his balls. He's hitting home runs. Like baseball, I get it. But when you're dealing with combat sports, whether you're punching or you're breaking a dude's arm or it's something like that, I really think that you probably shouldn't be taking shit like that, because you're hurting people. That if you want to do an all league that does that shit, maybe we'll do that. But I really think it actually hurts people who are trying to learn the sport.
Yeah. If you're on PEDs and you're going against someone who's not on PEDs, you have such an advantage. But if you're the person not on PEDs, it gives you a great opportunity to show your jiu-jitsu.
More skill.
There definitely needs to be more testing. A lot of these guys are coming in looking non-human at this point.
Have you ever like had a couple people you were growing with, like this guy, just a little something different?
Oh yeah. I've competed against and at different places trained with people who are clearly on, or even people who are just openly on steroids, and it's definitely a different type of strength.
And it affects your role, right?
Yeah, it's good to train with those people though. It gets you ready for a situation where if you are competing against someone on PEDs, if you're training with people, or if you're used to competing against people like that, then you should be okay.
Right. It's like you're fucking training with the Hulk, Then when you get a normal human, it's nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm going to respect your time, buddy. One more question, and probably I'll let you I'll have maybe 2 more questions, but the one with teaching I want to ask you, if you've done jiu-jitsu for years and now you're teaching it, do you find yourself like looking and analyzing jiu-jitsu in like a different way because of that?
Teaching forces me to be better at the little things, because, I'll see my students mess up things and I think to myself, wow, I never saw it from this perspective, or wow, like, how can I make my student better? How can I fix these little details that they're messing up? So it makes me pay attention more to the little things teaching.
Do you think it makes you better as a competitor too, like your skills? Because you have to overanalyze or whatever?
Yeah, it makes me, I would say, yeah, it does improve competition, because it makes me more focused on little details, even when I'm going for a submission in a tournament or going for a pass or a sweep. I spent so much time helping my students on the little details that it makes my jiu-jitsu a lot more efficient.
Cool, man. And, one of the things I want to ask you is like, if somebody's trying to, and they want to be a world-class competitor like you, right? You know, what are some of the things you would tell somebody who like, same thing if a guy came up to you and he was like, hey man, you know, I'm a young, you know, blue belt or whatever. I want to really aspire to do what you do. Like, what are some of the things I can do?
I would say make sure you have the right coach. Make sure you're going to every training session, you know, with the right mentality, improving, not winning. And have a plan. You know, don't just be like, oh, I'm going to train every day and then I'm just going to compete. No, actually plan it out. You know, how are you going to make time to train? How are you going to make time to compete? How are you going to make sure that you are in the best possible condition to compete? So really make sure you have a plan. Don't just wing it.
Awesome, man. Appreciate it. And you know, why did they call you? By the way, I should ask you this in the beginning. You know, you're Daddy Marco. What you know, what happened with that name? Where'd that come from? It's hilarious.
So a lot of times when I compete, there's usually you know, Brazilians with accents who are calling my name, and Y seems to be very hard for them to pronounce. So they'll say more of like a J sounding word, and it came out like Yadimarco, and so people just started calling me Daddy Marco.
Oh, dude, that's
Yeah.
amazing. I love it.
Yeah,
You sound like the pimp of jujitsu.
and you know,
You should just come around. That's all. You just come around one day, like just with a pimp stick, and like you're in your stuff, and you're just like clubbing students to do right positions and moves.
I'll claim the title Pimp of Jiu-Jitsu. That sounds good to me.
I love it. I love it, man. Oh, man. So it was a pleasure having you on, buddy. I appreciate it. And it was awesome when coming to your gym and meeting you and giving us that interview. Guys, check his Instagram out. What's your Instagram again? I'm sorry.
My Instagram's my last name at Yadimarco. So Yadimarco. Check it out, guys.
Awesome. And if you guys, I don't care if you're in New York, I don't care if you fly down, go to Clifton, check out Immortal's Jiu-Jitsu, and you guys won't be disappointed.
No, yeah, we'll definitely bring the heat.
Awesome, man.
All right.
I appreciate it. You have a great day, man, and it's been a pleasure, bro. Peace.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. Likewise. See ya.
Awesome.